Okay. So here we are. I'm nervous.
Why are you nervous?
I don't know, cause it's you, bro.
Is it recording already?
No.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
I am inclined to lose my mind at any time. And you know why. Yes, you know why. It's written in my eyes.
There's no warning here. Like, go.
Yeah, it's recording. I like to keep it as natural as possible, so I don't be on.
You told me to be quiet. So.
Okay, I'll see. Fucking Sam. We got Sam in the building, bro. Oh my fucking god! Listen, welcome to the Burnz1EyePea podcast. I'm your host, Glory Rose, and today we have a special guest, man. I know y'all getting tired of hearing special guests whenever this, but yo, this guy's fucking. You'll see. All right, so I met you when you were roughly around 28 years old. You were a projectionist at AMC at the movie theater.
24.
That's where I met
R.I.P.
you. Yeah, R.I.P. That's where I met you. That's where I met the mother of my child. Like AMC's, AMC was it. You, all right. So listen, when you meet people, right? Sometimes they become like family, correct? So you have some that you look at them like they your little bro. That's my little bro right there. You know what I mean? Then you got some that you look at, yo, that's bro right there. But then you got the mentor type that you look up to, and you look at them like they're big bro. And that's what you are to me. You're like a big bro. Okay?
Man, I appreciate those words, Buddha.
Nah, you're big bro. You probably don't know, but you really helped me through a very dark time in my life back in around 2013. Okay? I had just broke up with the mother of my child. I was financially I was distraught. You know what I'm saying? And then normally when someone's put in that type of situation, they're like, yo, what can I do? You know what I'm saying? Like, what can I do? Like, what they try to find ways to help themselves, but then I got like this little weird idea to help others. Right? And who do you go to in a situation like that? You go to you, bro. You and your wife are, yo, shout out to Evie. You guys are amazing. You guys right now as we speak, in my opinion, are a pillar to the community. You know what I mean? And you helped me start something called Project 609.
Project 609, wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful movement there.
Bro, you're a beautiful movement. Okay?
You're
all on your
beautiful,
no. You're a beautiful fucking movement, bro. I love you, man.
But you took it back, man. AMC, that's actually the foundations for a lot of people. I would tell you that, and including me. You know, almost everyone that's close in my life right now, to this day, I met them through AMC, or somehow the link was through AMC. You know, including my wife Evie. You know, I didn't work with her, but I worked with Celeste. You know, who then introduced me to Evie later on. And some of the closest friends to this day are people who I've known through there. So
how'd you meet Miss Evie?
Through Celeste.
Obviously, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
But like, was it at like a party? Was that like?
Oh man, there's a story
get
behind
together.
That one. It's really cool because we can still pinpoint the exact location. It was actually I don't know, man. Ever since I moved to Trenton, I've gone through different phases, and I explored a little bit of all different fields, and there was a time there I was doing club promotions with Ralph, Ralph Torres, Mike's brother, Mike Madden brother.
Okay, DJ
Trump. He has changed that name since, but DJ Connect now. Shout out DJ Connect.
Okay, yeah, he connects. He doesn't separate or divide.
I don't remember Tequila. Tequila was where Conduit used to be.
Right.
It was Costa Rican, and across was Planet Havana. So we used to have nights there where we would promote like Latin nights there, and I was the host. You know, the door with the leather jacket with the fake pen and a list that we didn't have no one on that list, but I had to check to make it exclusive.
You didn't have the beard at the time, right?
Nah, man, it wasn't growing out yet. Well, I mean, there was something there, you know, but it wasn't coming out straight. But I also never gave up on that. And look, yeah.
I know how you get the beard, y'all. Let's not even touch that. But you know how we get the beard. All right. So you was doing one of those parties, and then did she pop out at you like an angel? You know, like wings, and was she glowing? Did she stop time?
No, Buddha, I had to actually, you know how it is. You have to kind of play it smooth.
Okay.
I definitely knew who she was. I pretended I didn't know who she was. You know,
but you knew who she was.
Her and Celeste look so much alike as well. To this day, people get them confused. And she had to introduce herself. I'm like, oh, okay. You know, and she had already heard about me. I had heard about her, you know, but you play it smooth. And later on, you know, we connected. It's funny, to this day, we have a joke because that night we did exchange numbers, but she took the wrong number from me. And there was someone else that I guess was completely texting her. She thought the person was a creep. So she thought I was that creep texting her this whole time. About a month later, she's like, this is not you. It's like, no, I never texted you.
No, I didn't show you. I didn't text you that picture. That wasn't me. That's crazy.
I think that won me extra points when she found out I wasn't the creep.
The creep. Yo, dope.
No,
dope.
But man, that was probably Evie is actually the reason that I stayed in Trenton. You know, my plan was always to go back to Puerto Rico, back home. When you met me, I was actually, yeah, you're right. It was probably around 28. But I came to Trenton. I moved here when I was 26.
Right.
You know, my first job is crazy, but I'll tell you this because I had no plans of staying. And I only picked up the gig at ANC so I could watch free movies.
That's the best, right? That was the best
Everyone.
thing.
But typically that's what high school kids do. I was 26. I said, you know what? Let me go pick up some popcorn from the floor.
So y'all used to love working with you, bro.
No, I loved it. Don't get it twisted. But it was interesting. I was like, what am I doing here at 26? You know, picking up popcorn from the floor. But then also the staff there recognized that, and you know, I got promoted pretty fast. They were like, yeah, you're not going to be doing this for too long,
right?
You know, so but I always found a way to stay on the floor working wherever, because that was where all the fun was at. You know,
I thought you was always I always picture you being the projectionist.
Now you don't remember you used to come around cleaning the theater with me, and you always be rapping.
Yeah, I used to clean theaters with you, but you was never in the projection area.
Oh yeah, I was in charge of projection for a while too.
Okay,
yeah.
so
I loved it up there.
Okay,
That was, but you know what? That was like the VIP club over there.
Oh yeah,
projection was like you had to select few could go up.
Right? No, you saw the doors. It looked like a fucking it had like a little safe. You had to deet just to get in there. But yeah, bro. So AMC brought a lot of us together, and who would have thought, man? Because like I say, and I don't exaggerate when I say this, that you, among the people around you, are a pillar of this community, bro. So you weren't planning on staying in Trenton. You were planning on going back to Puerto Rico, which, if I'm not mistaken, you're from Utuado, correct?
Utuado, yes.
Utuado. Shout out to Utuado. So you made a big difference, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Bro, I don't trust politicians, but if you were a politician, you'd be the first one I trust. You know what I mean? Because you're a great man. And Casa Cultura, that's something that there was a Casa Cultura before this Casa Cultura, correct?
Yes.
And that was the one on Broad, on North
yes.
Broad. What happened with that? What happened with the first one? If you don't mind my asking, if you don't mind talking about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's part of the journey. In fact, Casa Cultura actually starts through the process of me recognizing that I'm going to stay here for the long term. When my mom passed away in 2008, that's when I decided that I had to prolong my stay here to be by my dad's side. And that's when I started having a social life, you know.
Right.
Shortly after that's when I started met Evie and so on, and already working at AMC. But it was when I started having the social life that I started also kind of really getting to know the city, getting to know Trenton. And, you know, I'm a very proud Puerto Rican.
Hell yeah.
That's something I'm extremely proud of. And it was crazy because at that moment, you know, a lot of people would tell me, oh man, I wish you were here 10 years ago. Or I wish you were there because you would have seen how there was the Puerto Rican parade here and all these events. And I was very sad that I missed all those moments. And I'm like, where is it? Why is it not here no more? You know? And so Casa Cultura actually started as a production company name because I wanted to produce a documentary that studied the roots of the Puerto Rican community in Trenton. Where and what happened to it, right? To this day, that's something that's still in the back of my mind. I think it's actually going to be a more of a book because I've gathered so much information on that since then. But it was through that process of getting wanting to do that I started meeting with people, kind of interviewing people, getting to learn that I really became more passionate about, you said, you know what, let's actually put stuff on. Let's do events. Let's do things. And we started with doing like cookouts. We would cook out a pig in the park, bring people together. We would do smaller events. And then after that, I started just kind of naturally started doing bigger events, like doing things at Passage Theater, helped produce a couple of festivals and so on. I did bring a background of that from Puerto Rico. I had already a barbecue festival in Puerto Rico that was very successful.
We ran. You still, to this day, is this something you go every year? I remember speaking about that.
Yeah, no. So the festival, unfortunately, after Hurricane Maria, I took a dive, and we lost a lot of the momentum of that festival through sponsors and stuff like that. And not only that, Puerto Rico went through a series of events, right? You had Maria, then you had later on the earthquakes of 2019. And then after that, you had the pandemic. So all those things, unfortunately, led to us being able to, or having to kind of put that on pause. And it wasn't until like maybe a year ago that a group of young organizers in Puerto Rico, they reached out to us and they said, hey, do you mind if we pick up this festival? Because it was such a pillar in our community. And we're like, absolutely. So we're very happy. There's a new generation doing it. And they're actually on their second year doing it. And this last year was very successful. It was beautiful. So the legacy is there, man. And it's beautiful. And actually, so if you really think about it, 21 years of this festival since it started, 2005. So fast forward, I bring that knowledge of how to do that here. And I was successful at putting on, small to mid-sized events. But what really stuck with me is what those events was doing in people's pride and how it was helping to cultivate the sense of identity and culture, right? And that's what really got me inspired and passionate about continuing to do this work. And that's where I said, you know what, Casa Cultura has to be more intentional about this. It can't just be about like socializing and partying so that. So then there was another layer that got added onto that, right? And that was the layer of using art as a means to just expose people to their culture, right? But the intentionality part was what happens when you see this art, like having a conversation around it. Let's have a community talk around it. Let's meet the artist. Why did the artist create this piece and so on? And now we're showing documentaries and now we're doing music all at once and we're creating this world where it's just it's inspiring you completely,
Holy shit.
So that was the start of Casa Cultura. Casa Cultura right now is not just Puerto Rican. It's actually about all Latinos culture.
Of course.
Because the reality is that we live in an urban city where actually the majority now are Guatemalan, right? But we have all Latino countries here. Puerto Rican, Colombian, Costa Rican, Guatemalan, Mexicans. We all are lumped together into Latinos, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and I actually appreciate that. The one thing that we all have in common is our language, right? That we all speak Spanish, and we have a lot of similar foods and stuff. But we also have our individualities, and we have to respect that from each other, right? And I think society wants to put us all in this box, right? And if they're going to, what we have to do is say, okay, we're going to do that. We're going to be powerful together, right? So the idea of organizing and celebrating ourselves as Latinos, as a group, is the idea that together we're more powerful. And then we're actually going to go and say, okay, then if you want to put us in this box, we're going to accept that, but that's going to come with also us taking what's owed to us, right? So we're in that direction.
Eso me da un orgullo. It's just like, it just makes me, it does something to me, bro. Excuse me. Damn, Sam. That's hard hitting. And it's crazy. You go over there, right? You do your festival. Was it in Utuado or was it
Utuado, yeah.
In Utuado? And you planted a seed, bro. And the hurricane and the pandemic, all it did was it watered it. Because what ended up happening was a couple years later, like you said, somebody was like, yo, bro, let me pick it up right from where it left off. And now they're on their second. That right there, I didn't know. And when you was telling me that story,
man, that's beautiful.
It did something, bro.
It
did something.
One thing about Puerto Ricans, and now we can go back to the Puerto Rican that says we're resilient people, man. Like we don't, there's not a lot that can keep us down.
No.
And
you could thank the gag law for that.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Exactly. y'all want to know why we are so exaggerated about our culture and about our flag and everything else? It's because we were attempted to be silenced, right? Mm-hmm. There was these attempts to silence us, and all they did was kind of like incubate this, and that just exploded.
They added a fuel to the flame. and that is disgusting. I mean, I'm pretty sure a gag law is like it's common nowadays. I'm seeing it. I mean, once you touch the algorithm and it starts opening your eyes up to stuff. But if you don't know what the gag law is, the gag law was something that just basically prohibited the Puerto Rican people from repping their flags. So they weren't allowed to rep the Puerto Rican flag. They were only allowed to rep the American flag, the colonizing flag. And
nowadays they want to call it, they call it censorship, right? They try to censor people in certain types of way, But I think, movements from the past, like, civil rights movements and so on, that they've allowed, there's things in place to fight that, right? I don't think, I mean, mind you, we're living in a very weird time, right? There's an administration that, I don't want to get extremely political and this.
Dude, we could do it. I mean,
all right, well,
you can do it. I'm not gonna say I'm ignorant to it, but when I talk about shit like that, I sound ignorant because I'm mad. Like it's just it pisses
we're
me
passionate.
off.
That's what you are.
Yeah,
it's not that. And I think sometimes speaking with passion is appropriate, but sometimes we also have to step back for a moment and not allow that passion to.
Yeah, we got to be pragmatic.
Over, right? Yeah,
we got to be. Yeah,
that's a good word. Pragmatic. I like that word. But that gag law really, if you really know about that it was 10 years, right? Puerto Ricans were being, put in jail for carrying the flag, or if there was any type of conversation related to the independence and so on, right? And mind you, by then we were already citizens and all these things, right? And right? And you still have found a way. How much of a threat we could have been that they were like, you know what? No. I think what it really was is that the fact that there was an entire piece of land that was so amazing, and all these Puerto Ricans were in it, and strong and men and beautiful, strong women, and with so much potential that I think they were afraid, and to this day I think they are afraid because do you recognize the masonry that comes out of that little island? Like, exactly. It's just like it's crazy the amount of talent that comes out of there, and how far do people go from there?
Not just the talent, but the natural resources, as far as like the tobacco, the fucking sugar, like all that stuff that they just made. They made so much money off of. You get what I'm saying? And it's like they don't want to let that go. They never wanted to let that go. And so when they were speaking about independence, that's what made them. They didn't even care about the independence. It was the moment that they decided that the workers stopped working in the sugar plants, when Pedro Albizu Campo had them all basically protest for better pay. That's when they started looking at Pedro Albizu Campo as a threat. But during those times, if you were saying que viva un Puerto Rico libre, okay, whatever. But once they stopped working, once that money stopped being produced, that's when it was like, oh, we gotta watch this guy. That's when that word viva un Puerto Rico libre became scary to them. And that's when they started to go to war on us, man. It's ugly, bro.
Yeah, and it's great that you bring that up, right? Because even if you were to study movements of that time, even the attempted assassination of the president, by part of the nationalist movement,
Truman, was it, right?
Yes. Lolita Lebrón says that she didn't come to killing, she came to die for her country, right? But the real idea behind all that was that they knew if let's say they were even successful doing that, what chances did Puerto Rico ever have against the Empire of the United States, right? The whole purpose behind all that was to catch attention to the world. Like, hey, we need you to focus your eyes on our little island and come and look at what's happening here. What all the injustices that are happening here. Right. We need someone to step in and mediate this, because they are major attempts here to stop us from being who we are. Our humanity is under threat, and I think that's very important to recognize that. At that moment, the people who acted in the way they did, they were acting under the pretense of war. They literally felt they were under attack, right? And they actually, when they were judged in court, they asked to be tried under rules of war, because that's different. When you get tried under rules of war, you're tried because of the reasons that your XYZ attacks or stuff you did. It wasn't criminal. It was war, right? But obviously they were not, right? They were like, no, you were a citizen, you were revolting, or you were a terror, you became a terrorist, you were a homegrown terrorist, and so on. That's why a lot of those groups, los macheteros, nacionalistas, and all them, they were then ranked by the FBI as homegrown terrorist groups. Closely monitored, carpeteado. The word that's the word they use, carpetas. By the FBI, who then went on and basically profiled everyone, right? And you could be the dog in someone's house, you know, there was a carpeta on you, you know.
And they knew how many ticks you had up your ass. They knew everything. Yeah. They knew your sexual preferences. They knew your side chicks if you had any. They knew your favorite drinks. They had your not credit, but whatever. They had your financials, your debts. They monitored almost everybody, and they have probably millions. I'm not gonna say millions, but thousands upon thousands of pages of our people, like just them monitoring, surveillancing us before the Patriot Act.
You know, and like, they actually declassified those, right, at one point. And you know what they did to that? They just threw them out. They just threw them out, literally, just like on the dump. And now there is, people could actually go to the dump and go through it and digging and finding other people's information and then finding theirs, right? And be like, a lot of people that have them, they're, to them, it's like a prized possession, right? They got back their privacy.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's out there in the public. So they got back their privacy, but it's out there to find if you ever want to take a deep look.
Yeah, man. It's definitely there's definitely a strong history right there. And you know, it's what's even more, I guess, conflicting for me, Buddha, being out here, because I've now, actually next month is 20 years that I moved here. You know, and I'm turning, well, I turned 46. So, but now living in the States for so long, I find it difficult that I do have this clash about being Puerto Rican here and being Puerto Rican on the island, because it's two different worlds as well.
It is.
You know, but if anything, I feel more responsible for Puerto Rico being here, because as Puerto Ricans here, we have so much more that we can do from the island being here than being a Puerto Rican on the island. And I'm talking about politically, with resources and so on. I'll give you the most basic example is when Hurricane Maria happened. You know, we put together a vigil in front of our house in Genesee Street, where we have the mural, right, on the Puerto Rican flag mural.
I'm so sorry. I gotta ask a question, because I had Juan Carlos here, and he pointed out that there's a mural of Pedro Albizu Campos.
Yeah.
That's y'all, right?
Yeah,
you did that. Okay.
It's actually Pedro Albizu Campos y Ramon Emeterio Betances.
Okay.
So they're two of the martyrs of Puerto Rican movements. They're just two separate generations.
One
Betances was under Spain. So if you heard of Grito Lares, that was organized by Betances, right?
1868, if I'm not mistaken.
1868, correct. Yes. So the Grito Lares, and then Albizu el Maestro, he's in the 1900s, later, actually in the 1960s as well. So
yeah, he died 65.
Yeah.
Radiation poison. I don't care what nobody say.
Yeah.
But continue. You opened up.
So, anyways, Mike Torres, right? He organized this kind of like candlelight vigil to be in solidarity with Puerto Rico on the eve of Hurricane Maria. It was a beautiful event. People came with their candles, music, and everything. And someone there said, you know what? Tomorrow we're going to go to Columbus Park and we're going to start collecting items for our people, because we knew that that hurricane was going to destroy the island. Bro, it was the most amazing, impressive show out of community. It was so crazy that we had to actually ask people to stop bringing stuff, right? Because we didn't know what we were going to do. Like, it was just like, it went viral. It was like
beautiful, bro. That's
when I tell you that outpour was, oh my God. And then on top of that, we collected thousands of dollars. So we ended up opening a bank account under the Puerto Rican Civic Association at the time, making sure that we had all those funds accounted for there. Through a connection in Philly, most of those items made it to the island. Unfortunately, around that time, a lot of those articles also, politics and corruption got in the way. But we actually can't say that we actually had evidence of most of our items being received on the island, because the National Guard actually was able to go directly to the ports and receive and escort them to their final destination. And then I personally was able to take the checks 2 months later in November. I was able to take the checks that we had collected and gave it to different organizations. But that's just one example of something that we can do. And that was just someone just said something, like said, "Oh, we got to do something," and we all got together. Now, imagine if that was something that was constant in our head, that we said, we can do something for our island. Like us, there's more Puerto Ricans that live in the mainland than there is in the island.
Right. I mean, yeah.
There's is around a 1 to 3. There's about 3.2 million in Puerto Rico. There's over, I think it's around 9 million that live in the United States.
There was a migration law of some sort from back in the day that started that. It was like a job type of thing that made people leave the island to come up. That's why we lost like 1/3 of the people. 1/3 of the people came to the United States, right?
Well,
if I'm not mistaken,
it was. I mean, there's like Operation Bootstrap, and
there you go.
Yeah,
Operation Bootstrap.
But there also, just in general, the Industrial Revolution, right? And if you really want to pinpoint how a lot of Puerto Ricans came to Trenton, was because Trenton was a industrial city. So Puerto Ricans were already living in the outskirts of Pennsylvania and the farms, and south and Kent, and buying land and stuff like that. And they said, well, Trenton was the biggest. Trenton makes the world takes. So that's how a lot of those Puerto Ricans migrated and relocated here, specifically to the downtown area, to Perry Street, Stockton Academy, which originally called El Barrio, right? Including Mill Hill. Mill Hill's interesting because Mill Hill, after the Mayor Holland moved in there, was really where a lot of that big change in gentrification of Mill Hill happened.
Wow.
But to this day, you can go into Mill Hill and still see some of the original Puerto Rican families that moved here, like back in the day. Some of them it's inherited, that the original owners passed away, but you still see some of those elderly people still live there from those 40s, 50s, and 60s on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of, it was my mom. Well, not my mom. My grandfather came out. He's in Asario, and that's where they were at. They were in the, Perry Street, Stockton Academy. Shout out to the Nazario family. I love you guys. But history, especially when it comes down to our ancestry, it's beautiful. But like you said, it's bigger. It's bigger than just the Puerto Rican people. It's the Latinos, bro. The Latinos. And then you got people trying to stop that. You know what I mean? And people just trying to it feels like it's almost like they're trying to eradicate. They're not trying to send them back. They're trying to just get rid of them and all together. And and that's why I love that there's people like you out there right now. I feel like you're like one of our superheroes. You're like, you know what I mean?
Don't put that pressure on me. No.
There's
definitely better people out there doing more intense work. I have some really good friends that are organizers. Actually in Casa Cultura, we're gonna be putting on a show at the end of the month called The Art of Organizing.
The Art of Organizing. Okay.
Yeah, and it's gonna be featuring my friends from Resistencia en Acción, which are, if you follow on social media, they've been a lot of the ones that have been kind of having a lot to do with identifying ICE in the community and kind of like stop them from some of the illegal practices, right? Mm-hmm. And the whole claim here is like, if you're going to do immigration enforcement, do it by the legal standards of immigration enforcement, right? I think that's the biggest disconnect that we have as a society right now. They try to politicize issues that then pin us against each other, right?
Exactly.
And then you said something very interesting earlier that you feel that you talk with such passion that you feel that you ignorant.
It comes off wrong. It comes off wrong. Right? Yeah.
I think that's actually happens to all of us because we get so passionate about it. It comes off wrong sometimes, and that's when we stop understanding each other. And then most people end up disliking each other because of that. Wow. And now you're no longer willing to even have the conversation about it no more.
Fuck.
Right? And I think we're living one of those moments that has been systematically created for us to feel this way right now. So I hate to see it sometimes that even own Latinos are pitting against each other when it comes to these crazy situations. When in fact, what we should be doing all together here right now is trying to come together to stop all this. One of the biggest problems that we have on an urban city is the fact that the more we break families apart, the more this cycle of poverty and crime continues to happen. We experienced that. As Puerto Ricans, we experienced when we moved in here, right? What poverty would lead to? It would lead to individuals going into gangs, into drugs, into other things, right?
Yeah.
And when, for us, the rupture of that was when they go to jail for that, right?
Right.
And then what happens to the kid that was raised fatherless or without the mom, or the mom now had to pick up 3 jobs because they had to, and there was no one in the house, so that kid has so much better chances of falling into
The cycle continues.
so there's nothing different from what's happening now. You're breaking up families and their kids, and they're staying behind here. And now that's the next generation of people that are going to continue growing into crime, into mental health issues, addictions. And then as a community, we don't see progress. And then everyone wants to, from the outside, say, you see, that's why they deserve to live in those conditions. They're just animals. No. There are conditions that are intentionally created to keep us in this environment. And we need to understand the most basic thing we need to do there is acknowledge it. From there, we can start peeling the onion back and start working on how do we fix that, right?
Yes.
So
that. And you hit the nail with the whole, like, within our own communities, we got the micro divisions, and that's the worst. That's the worst part. And it's like, again, it's not just between Latino and Latino. Yeah, them too. You know what I mean? And it's amongst the African Americans and the Latinos, that's the craziest divide that we cannot afford. Like, if we are looking at this in a revolutionary standpoint, that is something that we cannot afford. We cannot afford to be divided within our own communities. It's one thing that we're already being divided between the blue and the red and the Democrats and the Republicans, when in all actuality, bro, it's left Twix, right Twix. We're still Twix, bro. We're the same stuff. While they're up there sharing drinks and children, we're down here fighting over who's right and who's wrong. While they're up there, blue and red, Democrat and Republican. It's crazy. This is where the passionate, ignorant part comes out. Like, it's like,
you're right. That people empowered sometimes don't have a lot they can relate to people like us, right?
Yeah.
And you know that sentiment that you have about different communities also needed to come together. My experience is actually that there's only a small amount of people who are the ones that are causing this divide, right? The problem is that there's something the loudest, and we pay attention to the loudest.
Okay.
Right? Like, and that's the thing. We have to, I know it's very easy to say, ignored that, but in reality, we have to find a way to push them to the side, right? And I have the privilege to knowing some amazing people, organizers from all communities that are working 24/7. They can't afford to be up there at that level fighting those people, because then you lose all your energy doing that. You just have to continue focus on your work and then creating, hopefully creating better conditions for people to live in, right? So a lot of times when you see someone that is like, I tell people the most basic thing you can do is volunteer. Just volunteer. Buddha, what that event that you talked about, Project 609, man, I thought, to me, that was revolutionary at the moment. That was revolutionary. You were able, and in that video, you should play that video when something with the podcast and find a way to do that.
I got it.
You said that this is just ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And then there was the friends that showed up, that these are boys that we would all just hang out on the Saturdays and just...
Bro, you got mad at me that day. You remember when we actually was giving out the food that day? You were mad. I'm gonna tell you.
Refresh my memory.
Okay, yeah, I know. Long time, old man.
I admitted it.
you were mad at me because first of all, I've never done anything of that magnitude. Never, right? I decided to drink. I decided to day drink. Like, I was drinking Henny, right? And then you came in to get everything, like to prepare everything. When you saw me, that I was like on the verge. I was tipsy, but I was on the verge of going to drunk. He was like, "Yo, bro, you can't do this. You can't be drinking right now. Like, bro, we gotta organize. We gotta do this. We gotta do that. And you're sitting here drinking." And I was just like, "I'm sorry." I was just so nervous. Like, yo, okay, you don't remember that at all?
Well, I do remember you saying that you have to, at some moment, you have to address the people there that have.
Yeah, you was like, "Bro, and you can't be like this." Maybe afterwards when we're done.
We knew that was going to happen no matter what. It's part of our tradition and culture.
So you want to sip on something, and this is coming at that time. I'm like, "Yo, this is coming from you. Like, you were the party man." You know what I mean? Like, but. Yeah, that put me in perspective. Like, the party man said, "Don't do this." Like, there's a time and a place, right? That's what you taught me, bro. And it was humbling. And yeah, I put the bottle away, and then I sobered up, and that was probably the best advice you gave me. And I carry that advice for whenever I did shows, whenever I did anything, I would just probably take enough to relax, but not to the point where I would go crazy.
But my memories of those days are beautiful. I remember your mom also just knowing that that her son initiated this, right? That for her was something that I know took her back, but also her with so much love cooking that rice, and even in that video, she's able to share it, like, just share it a little bit. We don't have a lot, but the little bit they have, we can spread it. And then after that, we went out, your brothers, everyone.
We started going on deliveries. Yeah. We had like a checklist of the spots that we would go to, and we would just feed. It was.
And then later on, I think our boy Chino, right, took on the initiative for a little bit.
Yeah.
Your wife, she helped out with the book bag drives. I think Ralph Colon, right?
Ralph Colon.
You left a legacy on that too. Yeah. It's never too late to bring it back in.
No. I'm always talking to my wife about it. I actually, because during the holidays, what do? We give to our kids, right? And I kind of want to teach my daughter, like, yo, stop expecting. How about for these next couple of holidays, let's start giving instead of getting. Let's start giving instead of getting. Like, let's start getting into that practice. So what I wanted to start for, if not this Christmas, next one, is to start, I know everybody's doing it, but it's like start doing little toy drives and try to organize things. I don't know, man. It sounds crazy, and then get back into the whole, feeding the homeless. What I would like to do different, which you help me to see it. All right, so I didn't want to do it with cameras, right? But you was like, but how do we spread awareness? Like, how do we get the word out if we don't document what's happening? But I
remember this conversation,
right? Yeah. But at first, I'm like, I don't feel right. I'd rather just give. Like, can we just give? But then, how are we gonna spread the word, dude? So it's like, all right, I get that part. But yeah, I just want to get.
Yeah, the whole idea behind that was because we were very intentional not getting the faces of the people that this was going through. That was something I was against as well.
Right.
It was more so documenting the initiative, because that was the only way other people would catch on to, like, oh wow, there's some really good people doing this stuff. Because there's a lot of great organizations. In fact, I'm a part of many of these organizations that do a lot of that work day in, day out.
Right.
But those organizations rely a lot on individuals like you and small movements like that to when you really count throughout the year, when those little things happen, you're having a major impact in the community, right? So even if it's for one day that you can take someone's mind away from being hungry, for them to be able to focus on something else on the day, combine that with 30 other organizations or initiatives that are doing that. That's a month worth of people that are getting fed, right?
Wow.
And so on. So, but the only way that really happens, you have to sometimes inspire people. And I think we were successful at doing that, because you saw that grew.
Yeah,
the amount of people that donated to that was like.
And then one year, Mike Magic donated his spot. We were able to do it at the bar, bro. We had our headquarters.
Yeah, it's like.
That was a beautiful thing, and I thank you. I thank your wife. I thank everybody that helped turn Project 609 into Project 609. And this conversation has been inspiring enough to where, I think I might have to go back to the drawing board and see in what way we can get involved. I would like to know, real quick, your day-to-day with Casa Cultura. What's happening on a Monday through Friday, so that if anybody does want to come through, if anybody does want to get involved. I know Wednesday. That day stood out to me. What do you do on Wednesdays? Because I want to get my daughter involved too, dude. You know what I mean? Word. You have like a get-together on Wednesdays? Where's this?
Wednesdays is very chill. Wednesdays we're calling it La Salita Comunitaria, so like the living room Wednesdays, basically.
Living room Wednesdays, okay.
And the idea is that you come into a place where you can decide what you're going to do. You want to bring your computer to edit? That's what you're going to do. You're going to sit in the corner. There's people who take meetings there. They say, instead of going to the library or something like that, they're going to go and meet there. I don't know. Just this past Wednesday, someone brought a piano, someone else brought a guitar, and music broke out. Wow. So there's no program at all. It's just that we're open from 5 to 9 for 4 hours. We always provide free coffee and stuff like that. There's some snacks. We have a little coffee fund. Some people want to like drop $1 or $2 in there. Donate. That's the way we keep the coffee going. But the reality, the space is just for that, and what it's grown into is just people being able to know that there's something there that they can go do. That if they want to get out the house for a little bit, sometimes you need to just escape, or like I said, you want to go and meet new people. This is the spot, right? So honestly, that's the only program day that we have during the week.
Right.
Everything else in Casa Cultura right now is event based.
Okay.
Just because we are still a volunteer led organization, so we don't have staff that's like available 24/7 in the space. But our goal is to grow in that direction. Like we are actively. We have an active board of trustees that we are pursuing funding, grants, and so on. And we do have a 5-year vision of being able to be actually, maybe I even outgrowing the space, which I want to say we probably already have. We have events there that, like, unfortunately, we meet capacity fast. But that's a great problem.
That's beautiful. Yeah, no,
that's a
hell
great
yeah,
problem.
dude. I'm so proud of you.
So yeah, we have all that, and then I would just tell people, follow us on Instagram, Casa Cultura Center. On Facebook, our website is casaculturacenter.org, and that's where you can kind of keep up with that. We actually have a spring programming that's pretty cool. Like I said, the art of organizing, and actually I wanted to just really quick focus on that one real quick, because the art of organizing, it's meant to like demystify the idea that some of these organizations that are out there activism fighting and that, like if they're part of a problem. And in fact, they're actually oftentimes they are the first piece of the solution, because they're the ones that are bringing attention to that situation. Just like earlier we said at Bisu Campo and that whole movement, they were bringing awareness to the situation. This is what these groups are doing. They're coming, they're identifying, hey, there's a problem here that someone needs to look at this, right? That then gets that catapults into community support. And when there's community support, it starts raising flags. People start listening. Okay, the community has an uproar. Someone has to go in there and look to see what's happening. And eventually that enacts real change, and change by way of policy or laws, right? So this show is actually meant to be a hybrid between artistic, because we're going to be featuring a lot of the signs that they use in the protests, and the actual signs that they actually use in Trenton and in Princeton and Hightstown in their protests, alongside with a conversation about, like, hey, the reason that organizing works is because these are the actual changes that happen. So as part of that week, it's going to be a week-long event. There's a reception just to like network and mingle and see the art. Then there's going to be a community conversation where we're going to have testimonies of people who have been in social issue situations, along with some of the organizers themselves. And then it's going to end with 2 art making days, so the community can come and do their own art, to be able to use that art to be part. There's going to be a big march that happens every year in Princeton. It's on May 1st. It's called May Day. It's International Workers' Day. So we're inviting the community to come and participate, so you can make your own sign and take that with you, or you make it and you donate it into like a pot, where then people over there that didn't bring a sign, if they see it, they identify with it, say, okay, I'm using this one. So that's happening April 24th through May 1st.
April 24th through May 1st at Casa Cultura. Can we get the address of that real quick?
750 Cass Street. So
750 Cass
Street. Nice,
Street.
beautiful corner building on Cass Street.
That's
South
where the
Trenton,
coffee shop used to be, right?
Actually, it was 3 coffee shops.
I didn't know that.
It was Trenton Coffee Roaster, then One Up, One Down, and then last one was Alex with Café Ojalá.
Wow, bro.
Yeah.
That's dope, bro. I pray that your movement not only grows, but bro. Who's to say what's this? Yo, I'm proud of you, Sam. Like,
Listen,
I can't even.
Before we conclude this, I want to hear about you, man. What is your vision with the podcast? Because I feel like I gotta tell you, I've become a fan because you have a wide range, and I know you know, when you brought me on, you was like, I'm adult themed, but I want to, and I wasn't necessarily, I know you, and we're boys, you're like you said, we're brothers, but I also know that you're someone that, to adapt to yourself, to your environment, so like that. So I wasn't concerned about that. But what I appreciate more from the outside watching you is the wide range of conversations you've had in this. And I think it's so important to think that some of the conversations you're touching on here, whether they are with that adult theme, I think you're touching on people, man.
I am touching people.
No, and that's what we mean.
Nah. Listen, I like to break the mold on a lot of things. And one of the things that people do is they talk niche, right? What's your niche? What's your niche? my niche is no niche. You get what I'm trying to say? I'm a agent of chaos in a sense, but I also understand that I have a platform, correct? So I feel as though, yeah, we can come on here and we could talk crazy, we could talk about sex, we could talk about, but I have a platform, so why not also use this platform to educate, correct? Because it's, bro, if people are watching, the clips are doing good, the actual YouTube is something different, but yeah, why not just use this for a wide range of things, man? We can touch upon so many subjects. So where someone likes to stick to one thing, no, I don't. I want to go different places. I want to talk about different things, interesting things. I want to talk about them with people that I know and love. Again, the majority of people that have sat down on this seat, I've known for 20 plus. You know what I mean? Including yourself. So yeah, I right now I'm in a basement recording to a backdrop with a few lights, a few microphones, but I do plan on, who knows, this could be a studio. This could go from this to an actual studio, to an actual production, to something. I'm looking for sponsors. I'm looking for all sorts of, I got plans for this place. But for now,
I definitely see it, and knowing your demeanor and your hunger, I know you're gonna achieve that. You know, so
yeah, man.
you know, you always count with my support with that.
Oh man, I love you, dude.
But I really think that what I want to do is encourage you to keep doing it, because whether it's for you or not, right? I think that the ability to, some of the conversations, you know, I'm always going to pick and choose which one I listen to, because just like anything in life, you know, I'm a fan of other podcasts too, and then I pick and choose topics, right? But the ones that I've listened to, you know, you have created space for some people to vent, other people to share their knowledge, other people, it's like you're some people you're elevating them and you're honoring too, you know, like, and even through the jokes and everything else, you know, that's a mental health outlet too, you know.
It
like
is.
People
this has been
up,
so
you know.
therapeutic. You have no idea, Sam. This has been so therapeutic. And yeah, I also want to, because it's a selfless, it's with music. When I was doing music, it was selfish in a way, you know what I mean? It was selfish. It was like, yo, come to my show, come watch me, come, you know what I mean? Here is not that. That's not the case. It's more like, we could do this together. I'm making somebody who, again, doesn't do this. Probably they're not even in the public eye at all, but I'm giving them that moment to feel that way. You know what I mean? My sister Mabel, Tina, my sister Thalia, they come here and you can see that there's flowers within, they're blooming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to explain it. I feel weird even talking about it. Before we go, last thing. A few years back, you paid me $15 for a shot glass that you never received. Okay, I don't know. During that time, you were going to Puerto Rico, so you gave me the $15. You sent me the $15, and then I was like, all right, well,
pre-order.
It was a pre-order.
Yeah,
when you come back, you know what I mean? I got you, and then I never. I'm sorry. I got you the full set.
What?
I got you the full. You bought one, but I got you the full set, and that's for you, man. I'm sorry. So you get the full thing because I forgot, and
nothing comes along with it. There's no.
There was a box, but I couldn't get the box.
I mean,
open.
where's that stuff that goes inside the glass?
The alcohol?
Yeah. That's when we shut off the camera, right?
Yo, this has been the B1EP podcast, aka Burnz1EyePea, but that doesn't mean that it burns when I pee. Peace.
El arrocito ya está hecho. Ya pronto nos vamos a repartir comida para los reyes de la calle.
Well, today we are giving to the less fortunate. We're just a band of broke people trying to help other broke people. In late return. That shit was awesome. We had a lot of people that came out. Everybody had a dish. Everybody, it was clockwork. You had somebody over there writing down names. You had somebody over there putting down food. You got somebody over there putting the food away, and then you actually ultimately had somebody who would take the food away and go deliver it. So it was like a beautiful process, man. More stuff. You can't do stuff like this by yourself. You gotta be here.
Vamos a darle de comer a los hombres y desearles que tengan un año muy feliz y poder compartir lo poquito que tenemos con las personas que no tienen nada.
That it's a bunch of ordinary people that are probably stuffed up behind debt that is just taking their time out to do something good. You know what I mean? Slowly but surely.
I am inclined to lose my mind at any time. And you know why. Yes, you know why. It's written in my